Top security awareness trainer and cybersecurity expert, CEO of Windstar Technologies, and author of The Threat is Real, Protecting You and Your Family from the Global Threat of Cybercrime, Mr. David Groot.
Tell us more about cybersecurity.
You just wrote a book about the global threat of cybercrime.
It's called The Threat is Real.
Cybercrime is the second most reported crime on the planet. The threat has never been more real or more dangerous than it is today. I've seen it ruin so many people's lives that I felt the need to share that information with the general public.
I found great satisfaction in that ability to be able to fix problems that people couldn't identify.
We have hackers who are part of syndicated crime rings.
The threat is absolutely real.
My clients who need cybersecurity and or compliance greatly benefit. They benefit because I am Groot, guardian of the network.
Hi, I'm Dave Groot with Windstar Technologies. How many of you are tired of hearing bad news? The world is full of bad news. Every day, we're hearing stories about things like pandemics and inflation, recessions, and cyber attacks. So I thought today, maybe we could use some good news. We've all been taught that bad news is popular. It helps to sell things. It's profitable. We definitely hear a lot more about the bad news than good news every day. Sometimes good news can be more useful and more valuable. Though the media does love to spread FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, it can be even a sales technique that many companies are using to scare people into buying their products or services. I want to do the opposite with this presentation today. Instead of making you feel fearful or uncertain, I want you to feel confident, certain, and courageous. We did this already when you got some positive and probably surprising news from Mike Michalowicz earlier today. And we're used to hearing all the negative aspects of inflation and recession. That's all very true. However, it's also true that recessions are a great time of opportunity. Mike showed you the potential upsides of inflation and recession and how you can respond in such a way that your business actually grows and thrives during hard times instead of withering and dying. One of his worksheets is even called the positive process. Another great example of this is actually called Some Good News. Some Good News was a YouTube series that was created and hosted by the actor John Krasinski. He premiered it on 29th of March in 2020. Now, John is best known for playing Jim on The Office. He funded and produced the show. He filmed each episode remotely from his Brooklyn home during the pandemic. After doing 8 episodes and then a live stream prom for high school seniors who were on lockdown, he sold that show to Viacom CBS. Since the first season concluded, Some Good News has raised $2 million for various charities through their online Some Good merch store. Donations have gone to Direct Relief, Boys and Girls Clubs of America, Trauma Free World, World Central Kitchen, the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, and Toys for Tots, Restaurant Employee Relief Fund. Some good news turned into something good for John and something even better for a lot of charities. So what is the good news when it comes to your small business and the technology that you're using every day? Look, it's important to acknowledge Eric O'Neill is right. It is scary out there, and small businesses are definitely the targets of an increasing number of cyber attacks. In fact, 43% of all cyber attacks are directed towards small business. Some small business owners mistakenly believe that they're too small to get hacked. They think cyber criminals aren't interested in their companies, and that's not true. As Justin Weller from cybersecurity firm Blackpoint explains, you're not too small. You're just too small to be on the news. That's bad news, but there is some good news. First of all, not all cyber attacks are malicious. And in fact, some are hilarious, right? For example, hackers regularly take over the unsecured road construction signs in cities throughout the country to share their ridiculous messages with drivers who are stuck in traffic. Like in San Francisco, commuters were warned that Godzilla was running rampant in the city. Other hackers also use this same theme, right? Their signs warn people to watch out for zombies and dangerous rogue pandas on the rampage. Another sends out a cry for help from someone trapped in a sign factory. These silly and rude hacks aren't new. I did some research to find out about the first cyber attack in history. Can you guess when it happened? It's probably earlier than you think. That first cyber attack actually occurred in 1903. It's almost 120 years ago and 40 years before the first electronic digital computer was even created. Guglielmo Marconi was the inventor of the first wireless telegraph. He told the public his wireless messages could be sent privately over the great distances. Marconi claimed, I can tune my instruments so that no other instrument can tap into my messages. But when he attempted a demonstration at the Royal Institution in England, an unexpected source began beaming powerful wireless pulses into the theater. It was spelling one word over and over, rats, and then got more personal, mocking Marconi. Quote, there was a young fella of Italy who diddled the public quite prettily, and it wasn't over. Further rude language followed. The demo continued, but the damage was done. If somebody could intrude on the wireless frequency in such a way, it was clearly nowhere near as secure as Marconi had claimed, and it was likely that they could eavesdrop on supposedly private messages as well. 4 days later, a gleeful letter confessing to the hack was printed by the Times. Its author was Neville Maskelyne, a 39-year-old British music hall musician of all people. Maskelyne was interested in wireless technology, and in 1900, he sent wireless messages between a ground station and a balloon 10 miles away. His ambitions were frustrated by Marconi's broad patents, leaving him frustrated and angry, so Maskelyne hacked Marconi's demonstration as a way to fight back. That leads us to more good news. Hacking isn't new. We've had time to learn how to protect ourselves and our technology systems. And in other words, we're getting better at fighting back against these hackers. For example, after the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack, the FBI was able to recover $2 million in Bitcoin from the hacker accounts. And the good guys are even becoming hackers, right? They're using cyber attacks to fight the bad guys. The British intelligence service, MI6, same one that James Bond works for, took over a radical Muslim preacher's online magazine and replaced an article on how to manufacture pipe bombs with a collection of cupcake recipes. Additionally, when U.S. and Israeli coders unleashed a computer worm on the Iranian nuclear facilities, they decided to also upload AC/DC's Thunderstruck to the main PA system. So at random intervals, the iconic rock song would blast through their nuclear complex. Can you imagine? Na, 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 thunder, na, na, na. And they weren't done yet. Here's the best news of all. Cybersecurity doesn't have to be complex and confusing. You just need to treat your computer the same way you treat your dream car. I'm serious. If you want to understand how to manage information technology, then just follow the same principles that you use to manage your vehicles. The evolution of automobiles in the automobile industry is very similar to the evolution of computers and the information technology industry. Let's start with cars. What's your dream car? I want you to imagine it. Think about it. I'm not talking about a nice car, not one that you could probably afford in a couple of years. I mean your dream car, one that's probably out of reach, but you'd love to have it if you won the lottery. Are you picturing it? Okay. Think about what you want that car to do for you. And what are you going to do for that car? The first thing we want for that car to do is be safe and reliable. We don't want them to break down. We don't want them to get in an accident. There are more than 7 million car accidents in the United States each year. 50,000 people die in collisions annually. So cars come with an incredible number of safety features, right? Things like seat belts, anti-lock brakes, crash sensors, safety glass, roll cages, right? Like lane change things where beeps and mirrors and brake lights and accident monitoring, all that stuff, right? Adaptive cruise control will slow you down if you get too close to the car in front of you. Is that great or not? Your wipers will come on automatically if it starts to rain, and your lights will come on automatically if it gets dark. You think about it, most of the features in your car are safety features. Even with all those safety features, you still buckle up and you'd still drive carefully so you don't hurt your car while you're riding it. Like Robin Robbins, the founder of Technology Marketing Toolkit, says, nobody believes they're going to be in a car wreck when they leave the house in the morning, but they still put on their seatbelt. They don't expect a life-threatening crash, but you still buckle up. What about reliability? If your dream car breaks down, are you going to watch YouTube video and try and fix it yourself? Are you going to go to AutoZone and pick up the cheapest replacement part you could find? Or are you going to take classes and become a certified mechanic so you can take care of that dream car yourself? It's not probably going to happen. You're going to go to a certified mechanic who specializes in this type of car, and you're going to get that oil changed every time. You're going to check that tire pressure, and you're going to rotate those tires and get them in line, and you're going to change filters and the fluids on a regular basis. If a warning light comes on, by golly, you're going to get it done. You're not ignoring it. You're going immediately and scheduling an appointment to get it checked out. You're going to constantly get it detailed, washed inside, right? You're going to make sure that nothing goes wrong with that dream car. Your spouse is going to be jealous because you're going to treat that car better than them. You care about more than just safety and reliability. You want your car to run smoothly as well. You want to make sure that it doesn't get stolen. So you care about security. In the United States, a car is stolen every 41 seconds, and that means that 65 cars are going to be stolen during this presentation alone. That's almost 1 million cars stolen each year. The worst cities for car theft are Bakersfield, California, and Denver, Colorado. Most commonly stolen vehicles are Honda Civics and Ford F-150 trucks. So if you want to protect your dream car, make sure it's not a Honda Civic or a Ford F-150 and move out of Bakersfield and Denver. Make your new home in Harrisonburg, Virginia, or State College, Pennsylvania. These are two of the safest cities for vehicles in the United States. If you want to keep your dream car away from thieves, you will also make sure that you have every possible anti-theft device installed. Alarms, a GPS tracker, auto-locking doors, a remote immobilizer, right? You're probably even going to buy the club, put it on that steering wheel. When you park your car, you're rolling up the windows. You're locking the doors. You're taking them keys with you. You're setting the alarm. You're going to hide valuable items in the back seat. And at night, you're going to make sure you're under a light. At home, you're going to park it in the garage and then set the alarm. You'd never leave your car in a bad neighborhood, and you're going to be vigilant, not complacent. You don't want anything happening to your dream car. If you're really serious about getting security, you could even get the bulletproof Mercedes-Benz GL 550 by TAC, Texas Arming Corporation. As automotive journalist Joe Santos explains, good vehicle security has many layers. Ultimately, if you want to keep your car safe, isn't any one solution, right? Nothing's going to keep a car thief from stealing it. If they want it, they're getting it. In that case, it could be better to add multiple layers of security. Lock your car, use an alarm, put that club on there, get your GPS device. Keep your car sitting right where you left it. Steering wheel lock could work in some situations, but it's far better when combined with other anti-theft devices. Even with all of these safety and security features, you know it's still possible that you might be in an accident because there's a lot of bad drivers on the road and they're not paying attention. You also know if someone really wants to steal your car, they probably can't, right? If Vin Diesel or Ludacris shows up and they want your car from Fast and Furious, it's theirs. You're going to want to have really good insurance. Your insurance to replace that car if it's stolen, right? To repair that car if it's damaged in an accident. But you know that your biggest financial risk is the medical costs, not the property damage. So you want insurance to protect you from the liability of hurting someone on the road, or collision insurance and liability insurance, the good stuff, right? Not some cheap policy from an unknown insurance company. They'll pay you for a tow truck if your car breaks down, and they'll get you flat tire, right? They'll pay for a rental car while your car is getting repaired. Then there's compliance. You're not even really thinking about that when you buy your dream car. It's almost invisible, but it really starts right away. You can't even buy your dream car without paying for tax, title, license, registration. The law requires you to have insurance as well. There are thousands of local, state, federal regulations related to owning and driving your car. Speed limits, seatbelt laws, traffic lights, emission tests, state inspections. You have to actually pass a test to get a driver's license. You got to regularly renew that driver's license by waiting for hours at the DMV. The list just goes on. If you ignore those laws, you pay big fines, or you could even lose your dream car. If you get too many tickets or accidents, you might lose your insurance. It might become so expensive, you can't even afford to drive that car anymore. So compliance is something that we don't think about, but it's everywhere. And it affects every aspect of our life on the roads and highways. So we're looking at safety and reliability, security, insurance, and compliance. These 4 layers are crucial to owning, driving, and enjoying that dream car. These same 4 elements are crucial to managing your business technology. Remember, cybersecurity doesn't have to be complex and confusing. Just treat your computer the same way you'd treat your dream car. Safety and reliability looks like this. You want to turn on your computers and you want them to run smoothly. You want your email system to be reliable. You don't want downtime on your servers, just like with your car. You definitely don't want those systems to crash, right? So what do? You hire a competent, trustworthy managed service provider, just like you would take your car to a certified mechanic. Hiring a company to manage your IT can be a difficult decision. A nonprofit in Virginia was hesitant to invest in a backup system for their data. It just seemed too expensive and maybe unnecessary. But then the organization's executive director saw their friend's business get hacked. and realized the importance of backing up their information. They worked with an MSP to create and put proper backups into place. Very soon after that, they lost a server due to a power outage related to a severe storm. Because they had backups in place, they were able to quickly recover everything they lost. Online and offline backup systems are crucial layers for ensuring the safety and reliability of your technology. Another example of this, a CPA firm in Missouri. They had a vendor who was installing software on their system. The tech was new and was completing the installation for the very first time. During the process, he accidentally eliminated thousands of records from their database, and the tech was really embarrassed and frustrated because this loss could have been costly and time-consuming to fix. But fortunately, the company had invested in a backup system with their MSP. When they noticed the lost data, they were able to work together to quickly restore it via the backup systems. But you want more than just safety and reliability. You want security because you can't guarantee your safety on the roads, even if you drive safely when other people are driving recklessly. As Fred Lenga, tech editor and author of Windows Secrets says, just as drivers who share the road must also share responsibility for safety, we all now share the same global network and must regard computer security as a necessary social responsibility. Security. You want your technology to be secure. You don't want to get hacked. You don't want to pay a ransom to regain access to your company's data. You don't want malware or viruses, and you don't want your website to disappear. You don't want to lose your reputation because you lost customer data. There is a simple solution. Just shut it off. Disconnect from the internet. Dan Farmer, a computer security researcher, explains it this way. If security were all that mattered, computers would never be turned on, let alone hooked into a network with literally millions of potential intruders. But going off the grid isn't an option for your business. You need a safe and reliable system that you can operate securely. So you hire a competent and trustworthy managed service provider who also has experience and expertise in cybersecurity. There's an interesting connection between car theft and cyber attacks. I shared earlier, a car stolen every 41 seconds. When I was researching frequency of cyber attacks, I found they occur at almost the same rate every 39 seconds. Cybersecurity advocate Paul Herbka makes a similar connection. He says, security in IT is like locking your car. It doesn't stop the bad guys, but it's good enough. They may move on to an easier target. You don't need to make it impossible for hackers to breach your systems. You just need to make it as inconvenient as possible. And that isn't as hard as it might seem. There are so many cybersecurity success stories, we usually don't hear them in the barrage of bad news. So I wanted to share a couple of those with you today. As we saw in the story of the Virginia nonprofit, a good backup system is important for safety and reliability, but backups are also a crucial part of your cybersecurity. 2019, the office manager for a chemical and ink manufacturer in Southern California called their MSP and explained they couldn't access some of their files. After logging into their system and taking a closer look, it was clear that they had been hit with a ransomware attack. Within an hour, their MSP had them up and running on their backup server, fully functional, no data loss. And the best part, the MSP security expert was able to do all this remotely from a hotel room in Vegas where they were attending a conference. This isn't an isolated incident. Success stories like this happen all the time. Every day, companies avoid disaster because they take security seriously and they invest in systems that reduce the probability that they will be attacked or that attacks will be successful. This is important. Companies that avoid disaster invest in systems. They don't just rely on a single system for protection. They have multiple systems. They have multiple layers of protection. If they can't prevent an attack, they can still prevent damage from that attack. And if damage occurs, they can help you recover whatever was lost. James Scott advises the U.S. government on cyber warfare and cybersecurity. And he argues there is no silver bullet solution with cybersecurity. A layered defense is the only viable defense. So, why are layers important? Well, as Doug Thies, Director of National Strategy at Expedient, explains, a security system with several layers is difficult to hack. So even if your data is targeted, getting through the many tiers of security is going to be a hassle. The simplest of programs, such as free online email accounts, even have multi-layered security. Even if accessing your accounts takes a few extra steps, it's worth the effort, certainly better than losing your data. Using a firewall, making sure your antivirus software is updated and running those checks frequently and updating your programs all the time are part of maintaining your personal data security. Cybersecurity education and training for employees is another crucial layer. For example, in Virginia, there was another small chemical manufacturer made up of mostly older employees in a rural part of the state. The company's owner was George, and he was 67. George was smart enough to partner with an MSP and invest in cybersecurity, but he was skeptical. He didn't think he could really understand all that complicated technological concepts. In one training session, he actually shouted out, "I can't learn this. I'm a dinosaur." But he did learn it. One day, he got an email from his company's health insurance provider, and it looked a little weird, just like the emails from his MSP's cybersecurity training. So he called the insurance company and let them know they might have been hacked. He also said, "Look, you might want to work with my MSP to resolve this problem." The MSP researched the issue, changed passwords, turned on multi-factor authentication, and then resolved this issue. It was isolated to a single email account. What George experienced is known as a phishing attack. The hacker sends a malicious link via email with the goal of infecting the receiver's system. Some estimates say 90% of all cyber attacks start with phishing. If an old guy out in the country in the middle of Virginia can identify and stop a cyber attack at someone else's company, so can you. You just need to treat your computer like you treat your dream car. Focus on safety and reliability and invest in security. Get a good insurance policy, right? With insurance, you're trying to do everything right, but you know no one can completely eliminate the possibility of that cyber attack. So just like professional car thieves, professional hackers can access almost anything. Remember the examples in Eric O'Neill's presentation, right? China, Russia, North Korea, they're coming after your technology and they're going to win. Just like Vin Diesel deciding to steal your car, there are criminals out there that they're not going to stop. You know you can reduce the probability of an attack. You can make yourself less of a target, but you can't guarantee your company's safety. As Gene Spafford, a computer science professional at Purdue, sarcastically explains, the only truly secure system is one that's powered off, cast in a block of concrete, sealed in a lead-lined room with an armed guard. You can't run your business that way. So you hire a competent and trustworthy managed service provider who also has experience and expertise in cybersecurity, and you work with them to choose good cyber insurance. Smart business owners understand the importance of insurance. 32% of companies currently have purchased cyber liability coverage. As Rusty Goodwin from the Mid-State Group explains, a mature risk posture is achieved with security, insurance, and compliance. All three layers are critical. You want multiple layers of security. You also need other layers of protection in addition to security. You need insurance and compliance. So how can cyber insurance help you? Let's look at an example from Texas. A local pizza restaurant had a disgruntled employee. Can you relate to that? How many of us have had unhappy employees in the last couple of years? The employee used access to the company's email system to create a new fake employee's email with the outside payroll service provider. Then they authorized a very large check to be deposited into their account. However, the payroll provider had procedures in place to prevent this type of attack. See, when a new employee was added to the system, the first check doesn't get directly deposited into the employee's account. Actually, a paper check gets created, then reviewed and mailed. During the review process, the fake account was discovered and the payment was never sent. Dr. Larry Ponyman found that this type of internal attack is becoming even more common. We discovered in our research that insider threats are not viewed as seriously as external threats like a cyber attack. But when companies had an insider threat in general, they were much more costly than external incidents. This was largely because the insider that is smart has the skills to hide the crime for months, years, and sometimes forever. That's not the end of the story. When the pizza place found out about that hack, they sued their payroll provider for mismanagement. And in order to defend themselves from that lawsuit, the payroll company paid $50,000 for a forensic audit to demonstrate that they had done nothing wrong. They had followed proper procedures and they had avoided the potential loss. The audit also revealed that the pizza restaurant had actually been negligent and had insufficient cybersecurity processes that did allow the employee to access the payroll system to begin with. So the cost of the audit was paid by the payroll company's insurance provider, and this process was important to the company's reputation, critical. If customers believed that the payroll company was unreliable, they wouldn't be able to continue to build their business, and frankly, they'd lose anything they had. This is not just about protecting your reputation, right? It's about not just with your customers, but with investors. or buyers? That's important as well. Malcolm Marshall, global head of cybersecurity at KPMG, warns that investors see data breaches as a threat to a company's material value, and they feel discouraged in investing in a business that has had sensitive information compromised. Then there's compliance. You know, the only way to get affordable insurance coverage is to create, audit, and enforce cybersecurity processes and procedures. You also know that your insurance might not pay your claim unless you can demonstrate that you were following those written policies and procedures. UK Information Commissioner Elizabeth Denham worries when it comes to data protection for small businesses, they tend to be less well prepared. They have less to invest in getting it right, and they don't have compliance teams or data protection officers. Small organizations process a lot of personal data, and the reputation and liability risks are just as real. You understand these risks, so you hire a competent and trustworthy managed service provider who also has experience and expertise in cybersecurity. And you work with them to choose a good cyber insurance policy, and then you work together to train your employees and to monitor that compliance. The last example about the pizza restaurant and the payroll provider illustrated the connection between insurance and compliance. Both layers are crucial. Compliance is also important on its own, right? Regardless of insurance. In fact, it might even keep you from needing to use your insurance. An internal IT employee who worked for a rural hospital shut off multi-factor authentication on the CEO's email while he was doing software installation. Nothing really wrong with this, but unfortunately, he forgot to turn it back on when he was done. And shortly after that, the CEO's email got hacked. The hacker created a fake invoice, sent it to accounts payable using the CEO's email account. Remember, authority. However, the hospital has an internal process that requires invoices to be sent to accounts payable with a copy to the CFO. Hacker couldn't have known this, and so they didn't copy the CFO on their invoice email, and that mistake allowed the hospital to catch the fraud, and invoice was never paid. All of this was discovered by the MSP, who then went in and reset compromised accounts, reactivated multi-factor authentication, got everything back. Similarly, an electrical parts company signed up for cybersecurity services after experiencing a scare. While setting up the new security system, the MSP discovered a router that needed to be patched, and the internal IT employee kept offering to do it but never actually did. Fortunately, the MSP's cybersecurity services included a SOC, that's a security operations center, which does constant monitoring of the company's systems. The SOC noticed an active cyber attack and shut down the power to that router, which stopped the attack. They then were able to complete the necessary patch, installed the relevant updates, verified the attack didn't harm anything, and moved on. Compliance is important, and it's becoming even more important. Michael Battis, former director of the FBI's Cybercrime Protection Program, he believes that in the very near future, cybersecurity exercises are going to be absolutely expected of all companies by regulators. Robert Herjavec from the Shark Tank agrees, predicting that America should get ready. Cybersecurity regulations will soon be coming to the United States, and that's actually a good thing. I firmly believe the U.S. will pass similar regulations like GDPR in Europe over the next 2 years. Safety and reliability, security, insurance, and compliance. 4 crucial layers. It doesn't have to be confusing or overwhelming. It can seem complex, but it's just 4 simple steps. You just treat your computer the same way you treat your dream car. And now it's time to take this analogy a little further. Because cars are actually turning into computers, and cars and businesses are both becoming more automated. Understanding these 2 new realities can help you prepare for the future of your business and your industry. First, you don't have to treat your computer like a car anymore because cars have essentially become mobile computers. For example, a car mechanic isn't actually called a mechanic anymore. They're called a service technician. They're a tech, just like the person who fixes your computers. They're not up to their elbows in grease and oil most of the time. They're using digital diagnostic tools that tell them what's wrong, and usually it's a software upgrade or an electrical part, right? Maybe a microchip. This transition has happened slowly, but you can see clearly in the microchip shortage that began during the pandemic. A shortage of chips led to a shortage of cars. Additionally, think about your car key. It's probably not a metal key that turns in the lock. It's a fob with a remote start, right? Your key's a mini computer. In fact, I recently drove a rental car and it limited my speed and the volume of the sound system. Similarly, computers run on electricity, and now many cars do too. Because cars are becoming computers, it won't be long until car thieves will be hackers. It won't be Vin Diesel from the Fast and Furious you'll be worrying about. It'll be Sheldon Cooper from the Big Bang Theory. Teslas are the best example of a car becoming a computer. They're also taking automation to a whole nother level. They don't have a model year like traditional cars. They can be updated regularly and automatically overnight while charging in the garage, just like your phone can. They add new features with updated software. A Tesla that was built in 2019 can add new features that were developed in 2022. Tesla is the most computerized car and the most automated car, with a fully autonomous feature coming really soon. That takes us to the last similarity between cars, computers, and business: automation. It's becoming essential for both business and vehicles, and that automation is driven by computers and technology. For example, most of the safety features we discussed earlier are automated. They protect drivers from their own mistakes. They also help drivers accomplish more than they could ever do on their own, so they can focus on driving safely. Anti-lock brakes engage and disengage very quickly and automatically. Crash sensors automatically detect potential accidents. Airbags automatically deploy during a crash. Lane change warnings automatically detect other vehicles around the car. Tire pressure sensors automatically provide a warning. Brake lights come on when the brake pedal is pressed. Accident monitoring automatically recognizes if your vehicle crashes. The adaptive cruise control that slows you down if you get too close to the car in front. The windshield wipers coming on when it rains. The headlights coming on because it's dark or the windshield wipers came on. Think about an automatic transmission. If you've ever driven a manual transmission stick shift, then you don't have to imagine what it's like to do all that shifting yourself, right? Power steering is another great example. It doesn't steer for you, but it makes it a whole lot easier. Your car is even built by robots, and it's designed on computer-aided software. You can make a service appointment for your car online. You can buy your car online using an app. Scheduling the car's delivery is also automated. And look, pretty soon, Tesla, it'll deliver itself. So how many examples for small businesses do we have? Automated ordering, automated email notifications, automated tracking and updates, automated delivery confirmations, automated calendar notifications, just to begin. Chatbots that can handle routine customer inquiries and search databases to provide common responses to common questions. Efficiency, reliability, and availability are all advantages of automation for small business. Cybersecurity software is a form of automation, and the beauty of automation is that it's always on. It's always working. It's always protecting. It never sleeps. It never goes home. For example, an electrical company was looking for new employees, and because of this, their human resources department was receiving a lot of resumes and email. One of these resumes included an infected link to ransomware. An employee opened that infected link, but the ransomware was blocked by their antivirus software and kept it from infecting the company's server. The employee's email was damaged, but was restored from backup. The same employee opened another infected link in the same way that same week. The antivirus again protected the company and their email was restored from backup. But yet again, then the same employee did the same thing again for the third time in the same week. And the antivirus, again, protected the company for the third time automatically. It's common to worry that technology will replace people. However, technology doesn't just replace people, it assists them. This is important because when it comes to cybersecurity, people are your biggest asset and your biggest liability. Bob was the owner of a farm equipment company in the Midwest. They had about 100 employees. His MSP was getting alerts someone inside of the company was trying to breach the firewall by clicking on a link to a malicious website. And the firewall stopped him. It stopped that employee from going there. But then they moved to another computer and tried it once again. They were stopped again by the firewall. On the third attempt, they were once again stopped, but it was at this point that the MSP called Bob and said, hey, one of your employees is trying really hard to circumvent the company's cybersecurity processes. And that's when Bob sheepishly told them he was the one trying to click on the link. He thought the link would allow him to order a special part that he needed for a customer. And when the link didn't work on the first computer, hey, let's try it on another one. And when it didn't work there, hey, he went and tried it yet on a third. If it wasn't for firewall, the owner of the company would have helped their hackers get right into his own computer system. This illustrates the importance of proper training and having the right tools installed on your systems. Both are crucial. It's not just one or the other because employees can also be the last line of defense. when they do actually get into your network. Eric O'Neill, who you heard earlier today, tells the story of an attempted hack of a water treatment plant in Florida. An employee at the plant noticed the cursor on their computer moving around on the screen. He watched the hacker while they increased the level of sodium hydroxide in the water supply to 100 times higher than normal. Now, sodium hydroxide is the main ingredient in liquid drain cleaners. It's used to control acidity and remove metals from drinking water. Ingesting too much of it can cause burns, vomiting, severe pain, and bleeding. After the hacker exited the computer, the operator immediately reduced that sodium hydroxide back to its normal level, and then he notified his supervisor. And even if it hadn't been quickly reversed, the system has safeguards that the water would have been checked before it was released, so the public was never at risk. This is a great illustration of the importance of employee training and compliance as well. Like power steering or an automatic transmission, automation doesn't always eliminate the need for people, it just gives us better tools. For example, a $20 million marketing company in upstate New York worked with companies that required compliance, but they were unable to verify their compliance internally. So additionally, a vulnerability scan showed that they had major weaknesses in their cybersecurity plan, so they hired an MSP to help them increase both their security and their compliance. Part of their new cybersecurity system was a SOC, that Security Operations Center. And within the first 3 days, the SOC team responded to more than 100 alerts on the CFO's machine. The SOC cleaned up those existing issues, and since then, they've stopped 18 new attacks, including ransomware, on that company's systems. This example illustrates the importance of security and compliance, but maybe more importantly, it demonstrates the value of people and technology working together. It isn't one or the other, they're both crucial. For example, July 2021, healthcare provider with over 100 employees had their email system compromised. Their MSP detected the breach and very quickly resolved the problem, just a few hours. They also prevented the hackers from accessing any sensitive data due to quick detection and quick recovery. Ted Schleim, the CEO of Fortify Software, explains, most people are starting to realize there's only two different types of companies in the world, those that have been breached and know it, and those that have been breached and still don't know it. An MSP owner in California says that it's very common for companies to be unaware their systems have been compromised. When we onboard new clients and we install our tools, we find a myriad of things on our new clients never knew about. Our security tools have detected hacker footholds on workstations, vulnerabilities the previous MSP never patched, and recently, a new client had an employee who had installed remote access software on their workstation so they could get tech support from a friend. The owner had no idea. Schlein goes on to suggest prevention is not sufficient, and you're going to have to invest in detection because you're going to want to know what system has been breached as fast as you can so that you can contain and remediate. Research supports this. Companies that can detect a breach in 30 days or less can reduce that potential loss by more than $1 million. One way to ensure both quick detection and response is with managed detection and response, right? MDR. A small city government in Massachusetts recently hired an MSP who implemented a cybersecurity system and training. Unfortunately, an employee still forwarded a malicious link, which then initiated a ransomware attack. The attack was noticed over the weekend by technicians with the MDR. They fought back and forth, right, with the Russians until Monday. Then they finally won the battle and they saved the city millions of dollars in ransom. If automation is becoming integral to running a business effectively, then managed service providers aren't just service providers anymore. They're an indispensable partner as you try and grow and manage your increasingly automated and technological business. Kevin O'Leary, also known as Mr. Wonderful from the Shark Tank, is going to talk right after this about why technology is becoming more and more important to the small business. And he's going to argue that the technology, right, is the link between your business and your customer. This means that making sure your technology is safe, reliable, secured, insured, and compliant is also becoming more and more important. It's essential. Just like cars are becoming computers, your business is no longer separate from technology. Your business is your technology. 4 layers: safety and reliability, security, insurance, and compliance. All crucial layers. It doesn't have to be confusing or overwhelming. It can seem complex, but it's just 4 simple steps. You just treat your computer the same way you treat your dream car. You partner with a competent and trustworthy managed service provider who also has experience and expertise in cybersecurity. And you work with them to choose a good cyber insurance policy and train your employees and monitor compliance. Okay, next is Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful. Stay tuned after his presentation, and I will share with you 7 things every CEO needs to do to protect themselves online, as well as I've got a very special offer for thousands of dollars of free service. Thank you. Talk to you soon.